Hey everybody, if you missed class, you just need to rewind in order to make sure you know what you were doing. We are working on the Atticus and Friends brainstorming and organizing assignment, what's down here at the bottom of Schoology. When you click on it, you're being asked to open this document right here in order to complete the tasks that we were working on in class. So when you open this, it's going to open up in a document that looks just like this. And this is the overview. So it's all based on this passage right here. But the overview offers you some information. It says at the beginning of chapter 15, a group of men ask Atticus to step outside his house and speak with them. Because the town is tense with the trial coming up in a few days, Jem becomes concerned that the men want to harm his father. After all, many people don't agree with Atticus's decision to defend Tom Robinson. Atticus, though, tries to reassure Jem, saying, and this is a quote, comes right out of chapter 15, he's like, no, son, those are our friends. So what's going to end up happening is this passage, we are going to use it to complete a piece of writing. And that piece of writing for everybody is going to be based on this claim right here, wherein everybody is going to argue that the men outside the Finch house are friends. So despite Jem being nervous about the men who are outside his house and want to talk to his dad, that the men outside the Finch house are friends. Today's assignment, this is Monday anyway, Monday's assignment. In the 30 minutes, we read the passage and we also took some time to, when I mean select, I mean to highlight some of the best evidence from this passage to support this idea that the men outside the Finch house are friends. Here's the passage. It comes from pages 193 to 195 in the book. Anyway, there's a knock on the front door. Jem answers it and said it was Mr. Heck Tate. Well, ask him to come in, said Atticus. I already did. There's some men outside in the yard. They want you to come out. In Macomb, grown men stood outside in the front yard for only two reasons, death and politics. I wondered who had died. Of course, this is Scout narrating. Jem and I went to the front door, but Atticus called, go back in the house. Jem turned out the living room lights and pressed his nose to a window screen. Aunt Alexandra protested. Just for a second, Auntie. Let's see who it is, he said. Dill and I took another window. A crowd of men was standing around Atticus. They all seemed to be talking at once. Moving him to the county jail tomorrow, Mr. Tate was saying. I don't look for any trouble, but I can't guarantee there won't be any. Don't be foolish, Heck, Atticus said. This is Macomb. Said I was just uneasy. Heck, we've gotten one postponement of this case just to make sure there's nothing to be uneasy about. This is Saturday, Atticus said. Trial will probably be on Monday. You can keep him one night, can't you? I don't think anybody in Macomb will begrudge me a client with times this hard. There was a murmur of glee that died suddenly when Mr. Link D said, nobody around here is up to anything. It's that old Sarum bunch I'm worried about. Can't you get a, what is it, Heck? Change of venue, said Mr. Tate. Not much point in that now, is it? Atticus said something inaudible. I turned to Jem, who waved me to silence. Besides, Atticus was saying, you're not scared of that crowd, are you? Know how they do when they get shinnied up. They don't usually drink on Sunday. They go to church most of the day, Atticus said. This is a special occasion, though, someone said. They murmured and buzzed until Auntie said if Jem didn't turn on the living room lights, he would disgrace the family. Jem didn't hear her. Don't see why you touched it in the first place, Mr. Link Dees was saying. You've got everything to lose from this, Atticus. I mean everything. Do you really think so? This was Atticus's dangerous question. Do you really think you want to move there, Scout? Bam, 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 and the checkerboard was swept clean of my men. Do you really think that, son? Then read this. Jem would struggle the rest of an evening through the speeches of Henry W. Grady. Link, that boy might go to the chair, but he's not going till the truth's told. Atticus's voice was even, and you know what the truth is. There was a murmur among the group of men, made more ominous when Atticus moved back to the bottom front step and the men drew nearer to him. Suddenly, Jem screamed, "Atticus, the telephone's ringing." The men jumped a little and scattered. They were people we saw every day, merchants, in-town farmers. Dr. Reynolds was there. So was Mr. Avery. "Well, answer it, son," called Atticus. And laughter broke them up. When Atticus switched on the overhead light in the living room, he found Jem at the window, pale, except for the vivid mark of the screen on his nose. "Why on earth are you all sitting in the dark?" he asked. So Atticus comes back in the house, and he's been outside the whole time, so he doesn't know what's going on inside. And he's like, "Why is everybody sitting in the dark?" Well, originally Jem had turned the lights out so that he could see who was out in the yard better, because it was getting toward nighttime. And you notice that when Atticus walks in, Jem's like all pale, except for he's been pressing his nose to the screen so much that you can see the screen mark on his nose. So he's very interested in what's going on. Pale usually goes along with like fear or being scared, and that's exactly what's going on. So it was just a moment ago that Atticus had moved back to the front step, and Jem sees that the men draw nearer to him. And despite the fact that Atticus tries to confirm that these men are friends, Jem sees it in a different way, as though his dad's about to be attacked. He's backing up. Men are coming at him. So Jem decides, well, here's a plan. And he yells, "Atticus, the telephone's ringing," to try to get Atticus back in the house. And of course, Atticus, who is among friends, even though Jem doesn't believe it, he's like, "Well, answer it, son." And the men all start cracking up because it seems really funny to them that Jem would yell that phone's ringing when he's the one who's in the house and Atticus is outside. So this is one of the perfect examples of why you can make the claim that the men outside the Finch house are Atticus's friends, because they start like dying laughing here right at the end. So that's something at the very end. At the very beginning, one of the things we see is that, the sheriff, Heck Tate, comes to the house, and Jem answers the door, and Jem tells his dad, "Hey, it's, the sheriff is here." And Atticus is like, "Well, ask him to come in." He invites him in right away. Atticus and the sheriff are friends. Jem even knows that. Jem knows that because he already asked Heck Tate to come in the house because he knows he and Atticus are friends. But the thing is that there's a bunch of people there, and they want Atticus to come out and talk, maybe because there's just so many people there, I don't know. They didn't all want to go inside Atticus's house. Anyway, that's two examples of evidence throughout this passage that supports the idea that the men outside the Finch house are friends. And you're being asked during class, if you miss class, to find as many pieces of evidence inside here. There's more than just the two that I highlighted, that the men outside the Finch house are friends. That's what we did on Monday. You can do that. Good luck.